How many guests do you have?
Uno.
Oh, one, okay. So
I'll
it'll be
sit
50.
in the right, Mark. I'll sit way down here. If
Okay.
you could sit here
All right.
on the end, that'd be great.
If you need it.
What was something, and I just need these on.
Okay, I'll turn
You
these on.
just had the grades released.
Is he
Like
gonna,
within an hour.
Is he going
Are they
to
up? Are they
use
good? or
them?
what?
He's not going to use
no.
them, so I'll
6
just
schools
turn yours
improved,
on.
5
Mhm.
schools declined. 3 of the 5 are charter schools, so that's kind of different. That doesn't usually
I want
happen.
to get this out of your way.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know, too, when you start talking, this is the side that you need to talk in.
Okay.
to.
The charter schools can be good or can be bad, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you meet with them.
Yes. Yeah, they're part of our district. They do kind of operate on their own, but we're there to support them and that kind of thing. Provide.
You give them any guidelines or? do you-
Yeah, guidelines, support. The charter is actually an agreement between them and us and how they operate, the things they're going to do. and
So
all
they
that
have to meet certain standards.
The same standards as we do,
Okay.
but they do have some different
Well, there was no one coming in last
rules
week.
that they can operate by.
Poor-
That we can't.
Yeah, poor Phil was by himself
But
here.
you should be able to.
Oh, wow,
I think we
it's
should all have
warm
the
in here.
flexibility that they have, to be honest. But
It's warm. You got something for me, David? Thank you. You drew on this one.
You want the other one that's clean?
Nah, I'll be all right.
Pristine.
I'll be all right.
How did the high schools do? Did they do better?
actually, the two
So I'm gonna
comprehensive
call
high
Phil,
schools
so if he
maintain their
sends your time
C's.
sheet
The
to
charter
you
high school
today,
dropped
to
to a
you and
B for the
Barbara,
first time.
Will you have a check for Friday?
But I
I'll
thought
have
they were in
it
the
for
89.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Isn't
And
Bureau
are
and
you gonna drop
Sebastian
it
and
by,
80
or what do you want me
something
to do?
I can.
Percent
For graduation rates, yes, they all have high
Oh,
graduation
you're-
rates.
but you're
Are you
talking
gonna come
about-
over here?
Yeah, there's
No,
a school
grade.
grade,
I'll
that
come. I
the
can't
state
come
issues a
today.
grade
No,
for
that's
each
fine.
school.
But tomorrow, all I have to do is
But we can talk
fill
about the
it out,
graduation rates and stuff like that. We won't have
it will be
this year's
here
graduation rates
after
until
1.
December.
Yeah.
But if, I could,
And,
I wonder why the schools are
if
C's.
he gets it sent to Barbara.
well, the state changes the formula every few years, after, quite honestly, after a lot of schools and school districts move to A's and B's, then they tinker with the formula to try to make sure that it's more difficult.
Bringing everybody up.
Everybody back to the bell curve. And so 3 years ago, they changed the formula, and the year before the formula, there were over 20 A school districts, and the year after the formula
Okay,
changed,
stand by,
there were only
David.
7.
The open is on its way.
He's in David Walsh Real Estate.
He's doing the commercials. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Walsh welcoming you to our People of Interest show. This morning, as usual, my co-host is Kathy Cooper. And this morning, good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, David.
We're privileged to have with us the Superintendent of Schools, Mark Randell. Mr. Mark Randell, very well-educated veteran, and the manager of the largest payroll in the county. You have over 2,000 employees.
That's correct, David. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Yes, we are the largest single employer in the county with over 2,000 employees.
2,000 employees, and that doesn't count 18,000 students.
Correct. 18,000 students or customers. We like to refer to them as. If you think about it, we're a business. We're in the business of educating students, but those families and those students, we view them as our customers. We want to serve them with the best education possible and that kind of thing. So 18,000 students that we educate every day, but we also bring half of them to school, and we feed more than half of them every day, breakfast and lunch, most of them. So there's a lot to it. Big operation.
Well, it is. It's an extraordinarily big operation. I didn't realize that myself. And you have assistants, assistant superintendent for finance, one for technology, one for curriculum, one for human resources. I mean, it's a complicated business. It's not a simple little business.
Sure, big organization, 27 different school sites. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I have a lot of good help, and we do a good job.
And you're getting positive results, continuing to have improving graduation rates in all the high schools, Vero Beach, Sebastian River, even the charter schools. And I understand you meet them as well.
Yeah, the Indian River Charter High School is part of our school district. So two comprehensive high schools, Sebastian River High School and Vero Beach High School. So we call those traditional or comprehensive high schools. And then you've got Indian River Charter, which has been around for a while. It's not new. And they kind of specialize in fine and performing arts and also a college prep program. They're a great school. All three of those schools have high graduation rates, higher than the state average and that kind of thing. We're doing a good job there. The good news is last year, our graduation rates increased in all subgroup areas. So not just white students, but also black students, Hispanic students, Asian and mixed races. Every group improved. And
I noticed that. Every single group improved. The whole group as a whole, and then when you go into the individual people, they all improved.
Yeah, overall, our district graduation rate was 89%. That's the highest it's ever been with this calculation, a four-year graduation cohort, which is it's really good news. And I think the graduation rate is always tied to the high schools. We always say that's how the high schools are performing, but in reality, that's a measure of the whole system, K through 12. Because when the students enter ninth grade, if they've been prepared, then they're going to do well. So if they graduate on time, we have that high graduation rate. That's a signal that we're doing things right in K through 8 as well. So even though that graduation rate is typically assigned to the high schools, I really view it as our district overall. Because if they weren't prepared when they got to ninth grade, then we hadn't done our job with them up to that point.
Now, the system of determining the graduation rates was changed in 2011, so now everybody is on an equal footing.
Correct.
So when you say 89% or whatever it is, that's right in level with anybody in the whole state.
Correct. So in 2011, the state decided to do what's called a four-year cohort graduation rate. So basically, whenever a student enters ninth year, the clock starts, enters their ninth grade year, the clock starts, so they only have 4 years in which to graduate. So they have to graduate on time. And so in the past, years and years ago, the graduation rate was calculated basically on your senior class. How many seniors entered at the beginning of the year and how many graduated? Well, unfortunately, a lot of students back in those days had decided to withdraw from school before their senior year. So the graduation rates seemed higher back then because you were only counting seniors. And if you drop out of high school, usually you drop out before 12th grade. This is a much more accurate measure of how well we're doing with these students. Do we get them prepared for ninth grade so that when they enter ninth grade, they're able to graduate in 4 years? And so the state's been using that measure since 2011. It's the same measure that's used across the nation. And Florida has improved its graduation rate over that time, but we have definitely improved our graduation rate over that time, still higher than the state average.
And we're all constantly facing change. You at a much quicker pace. Education is changing, technology is changing. Vocational now is becoming more of a factor. And now this new apprentice program that President Trump started talking about, he's not really ahead of the game. That was already going that way in that direction anyway. Absolutely.
In fact, we're kind of 1 or 2 steps ahead of him on that process. We already have in place at our two comprehensive high schools at Sebastian River and Vero some programs that are called career and technical education. Years ago, we used to call that vocational education. Now we have a fancier name. It's called career and technical education. Some of those programs include welding, construction trades, carpentry, also automotive technology, a lot of medical skills programs. And most of those programs employ some kind of internship or apprentice program in the senior year. For example, both of the high schools have automotive programs where the senior students, if they've participated in the program, their sophomore, junior, and senior year, going into that senior year, they're released from school early and they go do an apprenticeship at one of the local automotive dealers. Definitely want to thank the automotive dealerships on US 1. They provide this work for these students, and most of them do so well in their internship that they end up getting hired by the dealership when they graduate high school, and they get hired on as a technician and they continue their training. Because actually, to be an automotive technician these days requires training.
Oh,
Basically
it requires a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
everything with this technology, they can hook up a computer to the engine and determine, like a physician determines your heart rate and all that. They determine the heart rate of the car, or whatever else is necessary.
That's it. It's a computer diagnosis, and so these students have to have skills more than just turning a wrench. They have to be able to utilize that equipment and know how to, to read the reports and then react to that. So we have that. We also have the medical skills programs. All of those, if you go for your CNA, your clinical nurse assistant certification, part of your senior year, you're released from school early and you go do what's called a clinical internship at the local hospital or at a nursing home or some other medical facility. So those are the kind of programs that we already have in place at our 2 comprehensive high schools, but we also have adult education here. The school district provides adult education. A lot of people don't know that. They think we stop at 12th grade. We're K to 12. Well, actually, we're K to 12 plus. We have what's called the Technical Center for Career and Adult Education. That's 2 campuses. One is up at the old Gifford Middle 6 site, where the Alternative Center and Gifford Middle School is located. But they also have a site downtown here in Vero Beach, and they offer a lot of those medical skills classes, including like phlebotomy and medical billing and stuff like that, as well as the CNA and
Medical
LPN.
billing is very important.
Medical billing is it's a good job to have, and also we offer an LPN program. And what we're doing is actually looking at consolidating all of these career and technical programs, especially the adult ed programs, at one site up at that Gifford Middle School site, take over the Alternative Center for Education campus and open basically a technical college in 2018, in the fall of 2018. We're looking to open a technical college there right in the middle of our county in Gifford. And so adults could enter take classes there and get certifications in all kinds of industry related skills such as welding and construction trades and all the medical courses. But also our high school students could go to high school for part of the day and then go to that technical college for part of the day. Many of us grew up in areas around the country where we had a vocational school. High school students might go to their regular high school for part of the day and then go to the VOTEC school or the vocational school for part of the day, and that's what we're going to do there at the Gifford site, hopefully to open that in 2018.
Well, vocational, they're even doing that in colleges, Indian River State College is
Yeah,
doing that as well. And
you
that
are
is
correct.
pretty-
And we have a partnership with IRSC. So some of the courses that we offer there will be dual enrollment courses with IRSC, so the students will get credit for taking the course with us, but also credit for taking the course with IRSC. So if they want to continue on down at their campus in Fort Pierce, they can. So yeah, it's definitely something that is a partnership between us and IRSC.
How would the fundings be worked on something like that?
So it's interesting, for the adult students, it's all fee-based. So if you're an adult and you want to take some of these courses, you would go in and pay a fee. Same thing with IRSC. So if it's a dual enrollment class, you would pay the fee that IRSC would charge for a dual enrollment class. If it's just a straight adult ed certification class with us, there's a fee for that. But there's also all kinds of grants and other scholarships for these. So if you're coming from a family that doesn't have a lot of money and you'd like to get these skills, this trade, you can apply for a grant or a scholarship, and most likely you'll get it, and you'll be able to get enroll in these courses and earn that certification, and then get out in the working world. Now for the high school students, they would go to the high school for part of the day and then go to this technical college for part of the day. That's still part of our funding. The funding that we get from the state would pay for those courses. So in some cases it would be a blended model. You might have a welding class that has some adult students in it that are paying to take the class, but you might have some high school seniors in there that are part of our program that we're paying for that. There are several technical colleges like this throughout the state, so a lot of other districts in the state have this, and so we're going to model our program after a couple of those. But our community, we did kind of a survey with the community over the last year to see what types of jobs are out there that aren't being filled, and the construction trades industry has kind of picked back up. We had that building boom many years ago, and then we had the recession, so that stopped, but now it's picking back up, and they can't find skilled labor. So they're telling us they need electricians, they need welders, they need carpenters, plumbers, and that kind of thing. So we'll have programs for all 3 of those or 4 of those vocations at that technical college, including plumbing.
That's wonderful.
And you have a student focus program, which we will get into when we come back from a commercial. We're going to have a commercial, and we'll be right back with Mark Randell, Superintendent of Schools for Indian River County. Now a word about
All right, good, great.
Great. I'm gonna see if I can't do something with this air condition.
All right, so what are we gonna talk about next?
Well, technology revolution. You want to talk about that?
We can, we definitely can.
Pardon me?
We can, yes.
Okay. Vocational programs you went into. And you just started with how many jobs are not being filled because of lack of skills. And I mean, that's really very important. Single gender schools. Do you want to talk about that?
We can. We haven't had any single gender schools. We've had some single gender classrooms in some of our.
Oh, yeah, pardon me. Classrooms. But that's we can throw that in. But you wanted to talk about strategic.
Well, we'll be able to talk about technology for a few minutes. That'll.
Okay, they'll take up some time.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll go a few minutes.
Okay. And the other thing is if you want to talk about grades, or school grades if you want to.
Just to let you know, on the next one, we need to go down to at least 2 seconds closer. Okay? That's what Mr. B said.
That's the B,
That's what the boss said.
That's what the engineer says.
Yeah, I turned the air down. I hope it helps.
Yeah, there's no difference already, I think.
Stand by.
It's not evenly distributed here.
You're a Nazi.
We're back with Mark Rundell, the superintendent of schools for Indian River County, the biggest single entity in the county of over 2,000 employees and another 18,000 students. So you have your hands full. I mean, I would think maybe there's a problem would arise in that scenario.
We have a few crises here and there, but I've got a lot of good help.
And things are getting better all the time now. We talked about vocational activity and how important it is, how the lack of skills is preventing people from filling jobs, and that is being filled by the educational programs that you're espousing. And we didn't get into technology. What about technology? Are we teaching that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, the students of today are what's called digital natives. They grow up with technology. They're the ones that whenever we adults have a question about technology, we go to the youngest person in the room to get the answer to that. And
they don't need a multiplication table, and they can throw away that. I remember when they first came out with the computers, we don't want that. We have to keep the multiplication tables. They'll never learn. Well, they did that. That's gone.
Well, we still teach the multiplication tables, but in the early grades, in the primary grades, to make sure they know their times tables.
Right.
But the thing is that they are digital natives and they're used to technology, but we need to make sure they know how to use it properly. One of the things we've noticed is they know how to play games, play video games. They know how to find things on their smartphone and all that kind of stuff. But do they know how to really utilize technology, especially to gain valuable information or valid information? When they do a web search, do they know what sites to go to that are reliable and stuff like that? So, about this time last year, or actually prior to this time, the spring a year ago, we started planning what we were going to do as far as the digital initiative for this current year, the year that just passed. And we decided to launch our digital initiative with 5th grade down in elementary school. The students are already exposed quite a bit to technology by 5th grade. Some of them are handed an iPad or a tablet of some kind, basically as toddlers. And so
it's amazing, but
yeah,
true.
So we see the youngest children with some technology. And so what we did in 5th grade was we outfitted every single classroom in the district, every single 5th grade classroom, with a cart full of laptop computers. And so the teachers went to training on how to use these laptop computers as part of their instruction, as a tool to help them deliver instruction, and also for the students to learn how to use the laptops to create presentations, to do research, to not only do write essays and things like that. I mean, most of us, when word processors first came out, that's what we used them for, was to write our papers.
Right.
But now these laptops can be used as actual instructional tools. Teachers can load videos on sites for the kids to read, to watch and learn, and they can explore different avenues of the curriculum outside of the textbook. And so all year this year in 5th grade, all of our teachers did a great job of incorporating the technology into their instruction. Now, when we say incorporating the technology into their instruction, we don't mean replacing the teacher with the computer. I think that's what a lot of people think schools are going to be in the future, is kids will just go in and take all of their classes on a computer, or they might not even go into school. They might just stay home and take it on the laptop or some device at home. But that's not the case. We didn't replace the teachers with computers. We had the computers used as a tool. And
the schoolroom is a great place for interaction with the students, and they learn as well there. I know homeschooling, there's something about homeschooling that some people like, but I think that the camaraderie and the community of ideas that you get in a classroom is a lot better than have a single teacher or a single computer. My goodness.
Well, I really believe education is a human business. We're educating humans, and so that human contact is extremely important. When a teacher is delivering a lesson in the classroom, they have face-to-face contact with the student, eye contact, that kind of thing. There's a big difference in what you're learning live and in person and what you might be learning through mediums such as a computer and that kind of thing. So the teachers, they might use these laptops in small groups. They might have one small group researching an area or a project or a theme, and have another small group working on an area or project or theme, and then presenting to each other the information, that kind of thing. Or they might work with the teacher might be working with a group individually over here on live instruction, while other students are working on the computers and doing research and generating products, video clips and things that they can show their instruction or their knowledge with. So we did that with 5th grade this year, and we're going to launch it into into 6th grade next year. So the students who were trained with these laptops this year are going to now go to their 6th grade classrooms, already have the skills that they learned in 5th grade, and now hopefully be able to go further with 6th grade.
There's no end to technology. I mean, I think that the people that even devise these programs don't know the end result. They get into areas that they never even think about. It's an astonishing change in our culture. It is the second thing to the Industrial Revolution. We're having a computer revolution.
Well,
No question.
Yeah, I think the students of today, there's a lot of research out there that shows that the jobs they're going to have in the future haven't even been created yet. So there got to be technology-related jobs, I'm sure, or technology-assisted jobs, or there's going to be some kind of interaction between the human and some technology that you have to be created. And so as soon as we can get them digitally literate, then the better chance they'll have of succeeding in that global economy of the future.
Well, every level of student activity is a little different. Now they have this single gender classes in one school. Is it only in one school?
We don't currently have any single gender classes. Treasure Coast Elementary a couple of years ago had some single gender classes, an all boys class and an all girls class in a certain grade level. And that can be a very effective method of instruction, especially if you have a group of boys or a group of girls that might want to be in a single gender format, and you have to have the right teacher. The parents have to agree that they want that kind of classroom for their son or daughter. And so there's lots of research that shows it's effective in some cases. But just like anything, it's not a one-size-fits-all. We shouldn't say, oh, we should have all of our schools should have all single-gender classes, because that's not necessarily going to be the recipe for success in all situations. But we have had some single-gender classrooms at some of our schools in the past, and it's something that's always available if we want to take a look at it.
And the premise is that the girls mature a little bit quicker than the boys, and that happens through life, and maybe they always mature more.
No, you're 100%. You're 100% right. The difference is in the social and emotional development and the cognitive development of the two different genders. So there might be some ways you could teach differently with a group of boys in the classroom than you could teach differently with a group of girls in the classroom. Same material would be taught, same subject matter, same
Right.
standards, and the same assessments and all that kind of thing. But
it's a human business and it's a human interaction, and if the boys or the girls together, there's a distraction if they put them separately. But of course, it's a wonderful distraction, but it's still a distraction.
well, I think that we celebrate differences in the classroom all the time. All kinds of different differences, ethnic differences, economic differences, and so gender differences. Usually, we celebrate that in the classroom, but in some cases, that might be the best recipe.
The curriculum, how is that determined? Do you change that every year, or do you have a guideline, or what?
Everything's tied to what are called the state standards. So the State Department of Education develops these standards of what students should know and be able to do at each grade level. It's not so much these days straight up curriculum like it used to be. It's more what can the student do in 5th grade? What can they do in 6th grade? What can they do in 7th grade?
What are their capabilities in those different levels?
Sure. And so some of it is tied to subject matter. Like, so for example, at 6th grade, they might need to be able to interpret a map or interpret a graph and develop information from that. So the standards are all tied to those measurable skills for the students. And so all the subject matter then is aligned to these standards. So what we teach in American history class is tied to these state standards. What we teach in geometry is tied to these state standards. What we teach in 2nd grade is tied to these state standards. And the state reviews its standards on a periodic basis, upgrades them, changes them, that kind of thing. It's been several years since we upgraded this. Well, I say several, about 3 years. And in education terms, that's several years. And so the state also then issues a list of textbooks that have been vetted to be appropriate to teach to cover the material that is associated with the standards. So then our school district, has the ability to choose from those textbooks to use for in our classrooms. A lot of people think that there's a national curriculum or a Common Core or anything like that. There is no such thing like that in Florida. We have our own standards here, and the school district, each school district in the 67 school districts in Florida have total control over what's taught in their classroom. We review what textbooks are going to be used. We review what
you buy the textbooks from a source. You have a
different
variety.
sources. Sure, yes. There's a variety of publishers, and they'll bring their materials in. We do what's called a textbook adoption. We just went through it for social studies this year, and basically we have this committee that's made up of teachers, parents, staff members, and they review all the different textbooks and then make a selection, make a recommendation.
Are you teaching American history in these?
We're teaching American history the way it should be taught. We are.
That's kind of important. It's a pleasure having you in here and learning what's going on. And I want to thank you for coming in, Mark Rendell.
David, thank you, and Kathy, for having me on. Thank you.
That's it.
Come out. 1 second left.
She was the orchestrator.
Yeah.
Into news.
Right to news.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, it was
It's
a pleasure.
You're very good.
I'm sorry we didn't get to the grades.
Oh, that's right. It'll be all over the
It'll be in the newspaper,
Yeah.
but they could have heard it first here.
Yeah. So when they make all these projections about where they should be, at what level of conception of education they should be, one of them is the 3rd grade, reading by the 3rd
Yes.
grade, and that's a national program.
It's a national focus, because what happens is when you're in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, you're learning how to read. But in 3rd grade, you start reading for information. So you're reading to learn. So it goes from just reading skills to now reading comprehension. And so if you're not a proficient reader in 3rd grade,
You're in trouble.
You're in trouble. You're going to fall behind, and your chances of succeeding diminish greatly. So that's why there's such a focus on 3rd grade. And we did improve by 3 points this year on 3rd grade.
Oh, that's good.
But-
Well, see, that's one of the things I just want to ask you. How did the grades improve compared to last year's grading?
So school grades, we had 6 schools improve their grades and 5 schools declined. So it's kind of a mixed. Overall, all of our elementary measures improved. in all of our elementaries, well, as an average, we improved in second grade, or third grade reading, fourth grade reading, fifth grade reading, third grade math, fourth grade math, fifth grade math. Fifth grade has science. So in all those areas we improved overall. Some schools went up, some schools went down, but overall we improved. So we're moving in the right direction.
Because
Yeah,
the
good.
reading, even though math and science I know is really important, it's hard to get any of that if you don't have that comprehension
Yeah,
in the
but
reading.
the reading skills is the key.
Mhm.
Good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
thanks,
thank
guys.
you,
Very
Mark.
good.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I always love coming here.
Take care.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty.
I'm getting better.
So after dealing with a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, I'm really happy to be back.
Well, Phil was good. The first day was a little rocky.
Yeah.
But, you know, after he got that, you know, then I think he was lonely. I can't
Hey,
come
listen,
over here and there was nobody here but him.
He kept the Rats company here like I do when Rhett goes away.
Yeah, and he was, and so anyways, I was like, come in and the whole place was dark except, and it was even dark in here, you know.
Do you have, do you talk to Barbara?
I can text her, that's the only way.
Okay.
I talked to her
There's
yesterday.
no water here, so she asked before I left if we get water deliveries, and I said no.
No.
So can somebody get a water delivery?
Okay, I'll text her and tell her that we're out and ask her how she want to handle that. She might ask Ron to go and pick it up or,
Okay.
or something. But
Okay.
I will do, cause I know I had to fix a glass of water for Mark.
Okay, all right, and this way I'll have it for the guests.
Great.
All right,
Okay.
thank you, have a good week.
You too.
I sent a voice message to Phil, so,
Okay.
okay? Take care, Mr. Walsh.